But regardless, you are going to go through valleys. You're going to go through valleys. Now, in today's generation, there's a generation of, I want it now. I want it now. I don't want to wait. I want a new car. I don't care if I can afford it. I want it now. So you go in debt. Our generation, the generation I grew up in, our parents taught us to think before we act. So we thought about it, and then we did something stupid. It's the just do it. And Nike has a commercial, just do it. Yeah. So that's today's generation. They don't care, they don't think about it, they just go ahead and do it. Consequences be damned, we're just going to do this, and kitty bargain or whatever happens. And the results of just doing it are often fatal. Fatal. Kids get into drugs, just do it. I can't tell you the suicide rate. Somebody kept a statistic, I don't know. But it's the highest it has ever been in the world, not just the United States, all over the globe. People are taking their lives left and right. Now, you may be one of the blessed ones this morning. I know Ron is. He may be getting to retire shortly. And he's going to move. Not going to stay here. He's going to move to some island. And up on the island, there's going to be a castle up on the cliff, and it's going to have a glass window across the whole front. He's going to be able to look out at the ocean so blue and the sand so white. A beautiful vista. But I don't care where you're at or what you're doing. I don't make many promises, but I can promise you this. You're going to go through a valley. That's a given. I can take that to the bank. You're going to go through valleys. David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not. Now, I don't know how many times he repeated it, but I repeat it quite a lot. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not. Now, what does that mean to you? David was a king. He was a writer, a singer of the Psalms. But he knew what it was like to go through the valley of the shadow of death. He spent many a day in a cave. He was a king by all rights. And he didn't live in a palace. He lived in a cave because they were trying to kill him. They wanted to take his life, and even his son wanted to take his life. He knew what it was like to live with guilt. He saw Bathsheba taking a bath. He wanted her. So he took her. And then he wanted her for good. So he sent her husband off to the front lines to get killed. And he did. He knew what it was like to live with guilt. He knew the valley of the shadow of death when he lost his infant son. And then the son that he was trying to kill him died. I don't care what you think of your son. If he's trying to kill you or not, he's still your son. And so he mourned his death. But he also knew that the only chance of getting through this valley that he was in was in the hands of a shepherd. But not just any shepherd. David knew that he needed a king of kings and a shepherd of all shepherds, Jesus Christ, to get him through these valleys. This shepherd provided him with grace, provides us with grace, that we can be assured of his goodness and his mercy. He'll be our constant companion as we travel through this life, this journey from here to glory. We need a shepherd. We need a shepherd. In 2 Corinthians 9:12, so two good things will result from the ministry of giving. The need of the believers in Jerusalem will be met. God's mercy and grace. and they will joyfully express their thanks to God. Two things have to happen. You have to pray for your needs, and when you get them, you give your thanks. You give Him honor and glory. And that's what David was doing in these Psalms. David is praising God. First, he's begging for mercy and grace, and then he praises God. And that's what we need to do this morning. We need to know that there is nothing in life that we can go through that God cannot handle. You see, we need to follow the one who already knows the way. He has a way for us. And He knows the way. The Bible tells us that. In Psalm 37:23, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Woo! Woo! And He delights in His ways. Let me tell you something, people. You can go through this world with a grudge. You can go through this world with a chip on your shoulder. But believe me, you're going to go through this world. There's no two ways about it. Like Pastor DeGroot, a pastor in Nashville, used to say, he said, if you had a flat tire, you can change that flat tire with an ornery, grumpy old you, or you can change that flat tire with a praise in the Lord. But you're going to change that flat tire. How you do it is up to you. Praise God. Woo! Love that little preacher. In Job 23:10, but He knows the ways that I take. He knows every step we take. He knows it. I love the next line. When He tests me. When He tests me. Now, He knows the path. He knows the way. He's trying to get us on that right path. But He tests you. He will let you wander off. He will let you do your thing. He's going to see if you can swim or if you'll sink. And then the next line says, I shall come forth as gold. I shall come forth as gold. The testings are a purification. Are a purification. To make you better. To prepare you for the Lord. Scottish preacher named John McNeil. I'm going to cut this short. It's kind of a long story. But anyway, as a child, he used to have to walk through the woods. And the woods at night were kind of dark and scary. And it had some pretty deep ravines. And they said that there were wild animals and even robbers lived out there in the woods because it was so dark and dense. And so one night he was walking through the woods, going from his grandmother's house to his parents' house. And he said it was dark, and he said even the trees looked spooky. You know how you go in the woods at daytime and they look like trees. But you go in the woods at night and oh boy, they take all sorts of different shapes inside them. They're scary. And so this little boy, he had fear in his heart. He didn't know if he was going to get eaten by an antelope or robbed by a robber. And then he hears this eerie sound coming from, he thought somebody was in front of him, stalking him. And then he hears this eerie sound and he can't make it out, but fear swells up inside of him. And then once again he hears a cry, but this time he can make it out. And the voice is saying, John, John, is that you? And it was his dad. His dad knew the fear in that boy's heart. And he came out to meet him in the woods. Came out to make sure he got home safe and calmed his fears. Let me tell you something, folks. It only takes one word from our Father. It only takes one word from our Father to expel our fears, our sins, our anxieties. Maybe two. Maybe two words. But one is sufficient. Jesus Christ. You don't have to go through life fearing with anxieties. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. David was a songwriter. I can just imagine David singing this song. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. David done it a lot better than I did it, but I can just imagine him singing that song. Singing. Woo! You know, and as I sang that, when we lay down beside still waters, that got me to thinking, that's not good. But you remember as a child, my mother would always, shepherds take care of their sheep and they make sure they get rest. Well, my mother was always calling me in from outside when I'm playing in the backyard, and I got the bad guys with my little cat gun. You know, they don't do that anymore. They don't play cops and robbers in the backyard with cat guns. Now it's all video games and shoot 'em up. But I was having the bad guys, and then of course they're all imaginary. I don't have friends anyway. The friend I had was the mom one day tied a pork chop around my neck, and I had a friend. It was a neighbor's dog, but still. So anyway, I'm out there with the bad guys, and I got him ready. I'm going to put him in jail, and the 5 dreaded words come from the back door of my house. Herb, come in and take your nap. You know, that wasn't the bad part. The bad part was the bad guys were laughing at me. They were laughing at me. They got a get out of jail free call when my mother yelled out the back door. And they're laughing. And they're saying things like, oh, Sheriff Herbie's got to go take his nap. I hated that word, Sheriff Herbie. But the shepherd, like a good mother, knows when we need rest. Knows when we have overdone, pushed our limits, and we need just to get along. Sometimes we, like sheep, are stubborn. We need to be hit in the head. We need life to knock us down before we will stay down and rest. And he says, beside the still waters. There's a deceptive phrase. I used to think that the shepherd would lead his sheep to a pond and they would all drink. But that's not what this means. See, if you ever climbed a mountain, you ever run or jogged or did a marathon, you don't want still water. You want bubbling, fresh, cold water to restore your soul. The Bible calls this living water. But it's not for the body. Oh no. It's for the soul. It's for your soul. I remember the story Jesus told about the Samaritan woman. She was sitting at the well. And he said, I can give you what? Living water. Living water. She had no idea what he was talking about. The shepherd ushers us into a place of rest and beauty beyond our wildest imaginations. We can't imagine how beautiful it will be. Why? So we can rest our fractured and fragmented souls. To restore them as our body needs restoration, so does your soul. Then it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I've learned that the world has a different view of the shepherd. It's dramatized. It's blown out of proportion. See, I've had this image of a shepherd sitting on a rock. And the sheep were laying all around him in this green pasture. It's beautiful. And the shepherd's up there in his shepherd's clothes. And he's got this harp. And he's playing a beautiful lullaby. And the sheep are just laying there, cooling it. And then along comes a shepherdess. Makes it look. But it's not the way it is. That's not the way it is. These sheep are dumb. Sheep follow sheep. Sheep get into danger. They can't get out. Wait a minute, am I talking about sheep or humans here? No, same. Same. Fear is contagious. If one sheep in that herd gets fearful, they all get fearful. They all run. They don't know why. They just do. But no matter what gender you are, what species you are, we descend into the valley of the shadow, into fear, like the sheep. Things that scare us or haunt us or disrupt our lives, our dreams of happiness and contentment. That's fear. But we have a shepherd. Now, picture this. Shepherds are not dressed in suits. They don't have $100, $1,000 shoes. They're shepherds. They are dressed in shepherd's clothes. They are usually rugged people. You want a rugged shepherd. They work long hours. They don't have 9 to 5 jobs. They work in the rain. They work in the cold. And they smell like sheep. Shepherd goes home. His wife says, "Oh, you smell great." Yeah. And the sheep all day. But you want a shepherd like that. You want a shepherd. We can go through the valleys knowing that we will be comforted. Why? Because the shepherd that is leading us has been there before. And he's willing to die for us. Oh, wait a minute. Matter of fact, he did. He did. The psalm takes a turn here. We're going from pastures to a royal table. A dining room fit for kings. With all the finest food. No junk. No guacamole. And you're sitting there. And you are dressed in the finest linen money can buy. You have rings on your fingers and bells on your toes. I mean, shoes on your toes, feet. You see, God has taken care of us. God has taken care of us. He prepares us a table in the presence of our enemy. Listen to this. Some people say, "Well, I don't have any enemies." In the presence of thy enemies, thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. We don't leave the valley. You do when you're in heaven, but we're talking here on earth. God is walking with you here on this earth, and you're in a valley, and you have enemies. But if you're in the presence of the shepherd, the enemies lose their ability to harm us. The venom that they bite you with is water. In the presence of God, they are harmless to you, a child of God. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. We're getting to the end. You shall not want for green pastures. You shall not want for beauty. You shall not want for comfort. You shall not want for assurance. You shall not want for the bread of life. You shall not want because your cup will overflow. All of these things in the presence of your enemy. The nameable and the unnameable threats in the valley. The tangible and the intangible fears that haunt us. Instead of threats and fears,